Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a video here to review a PlayStation 2 game that came out in 2003 in Japan where it originated, and then it made its way to the US in 2006, in North America at least, and that's when I never played it. I kept never getting around to this series. I used to see kids that were friends of mine back in school, middle school, high school, playing this game on their PSPs, on the school bus and whatever, and I just never got into it even though I knew the show. I liked what I saw of the show that my cousin showed me, the same cousin, Trenton, who showed me Grand Theft Auto San Andreas that I talk about all the time on this channel. So this is a particular game that I kept waiting off, and I finally found it for PS2 at a store I've been going to, and I wanted to play it as one of my top 10 games I was looking forward to playing in 2023, which is a video I made recently in case you want to check out the rest of the list that I am slowly going to work my way through. Anyway, this game is Naruto Ultimate Ninja for PS2. I was so looking forward to this. I knew this was a fighting game, and a lot of people talk about fighting games in the sense of just being button mashers, and a lot of games I love, like from Dragon Ball Z, were called button mashers, and I played enough of them to know which ones are what I would call a button masher, and some that aren't, that are just unfairly called that, because fighting games, for people who suck at them, are typically called button mashers, because it's a way that you can beat the game just by hitting anything randomly and sporadically. This game is 1000% a button masher. If that definition ever applied to a fighting game, this is the one. Let me tell you, I love Naruto. I watched the show all the way through and completed it about 2 years ago was when I finished it finally. And I've been watching Shippuden off and on recently where I kind of started it up right at that time when I finished the original show. Then I stopped for a very long time, been picking back up into it, trying to watch an episode here or there. And I love Shippuden way more than the original show, but I do love that original show. This game was going to cover that era of the show that I loved, which was the first, 100 episodes? Like everything in the testing and all the way up to the end of the Orochimaru saga in that particular series. Loved all of that stuff, so if you haven't watched past Orochimaru's series, then, you're pretty much good if you just play this. The biggest issue with a lot of anime or manga-focused games like this from Shonen Jump or Dragon Ball Z is that if you don't know anything about the shows, you can eventually spoil things in the show for yourself. So I have to be very cautious with what I do, what games I play from Naruto, because I'm so early on into it. I've never seen Boruto yet, so I don't know how far of things I've missed, you know what I mean? Anyway, this is a game I was looking forward to for my top 10 list of this year. And I was expecting it to be more from what I remember seeing, which from what I also understand from reading online, a lot of people seem to say that the second game, the third game, whatever, have improved so much compared to this game that I was not that impressed with. A lot of people seem to say the other games are more in the vein of what I thought this game was going to be like, which I thought would be more in the vein of Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. Now, I don't remember when this came out, but this is my personal favorite Dragon Ball Z game at the current moment. It was the one I played to death when I was a kid. It's incredible. If you haven't played Budokai 3, not Budokai Tenkaichi 3, that's a good one too, but this is my personal absolute favorite. I love it. It's so engaging, it's super wild and crazy. If you love Dragon Ball Z, this to me is the definitive game to go to. But it ended up being less like that game, and more like another game I recently reviewed a couple of months back called, Super Dragon Ball Z. This game fighting mechanic is so much more like this, and if you love this and haven't played many Dragon Ball Z games and want something more like Ultimate Ninja, this is the one to go to because this is what it feels like the most. To be fair, I think this is a better game than this. This is kind of a shitty game in some respects. It's very easy, very quick, and very much like every character that you play in this particular game, you get an end credits screen after you've done a few matches, like 6 matches per character. And you can unlock things here and there. That's really what Super Dragon Ball Z was. Naruto Ultimate Ninja is the exact same formula. It's Shonen Jump, why would I not be surprised? It even looks like it's probably made with the same engine if I had to bet, because this was an arcade game adapted to a PS2 game. This feels like that, but a little less so. This is a 2D fighting game. Not really 2D, it's like 3D characters on a 2D platform. And you have this really cool thing that I've never seen in like a Dragon Ball Z fighting game that I personally really liked as a concept. You have a foreground where you guys can fight, and if you hit the up button and the X button at the same time, you can jump back to the background and fight back there. In a very cool way, the camera will zoom in. And you have abilities and stuff that freaking companions and whatever can just show up and hand off to you, and that can help. But if you happen to fight your character's enemy, and you kick them over that way, they will take your power from you that your companion dropped off, the little abilities they left for you, like healing to get some health back. And let me tell you this too, this game ain't fucking easy. This game is not easy. This game I was not very good at. It took me a while to get around to it. It took me a total of 10 hours to beat this game. Like 10 hours and 11 minutes, I think is what my save just said when I saved it for the final time. 10 hours to beat this game for me. And yet when I look online, the average beat time was like 7 hours. So fucking hell, dude. I had to refight people so many times because of how rough it was. At some point, I had to just lower the difficulty from normal to easy because of how unfair the AI was sometimes. They would just spam the shit out of you with all of these super abilities and everything, all of this crazy shit they were able to do. I could never really get the right combo down in here to do certain abilities. It kind of just happened sporadically. I looked at the list that you have in the menu options to figure out how to do things. I tried to practice it, and I did okay sometimes. You have to, of course, build up chakra just like you would in, Ki in Budokai games for Dragon Ball Z games. You had to build up your chakra to be able to do certain abilities, and I understand that. But some of these motherfuckers would spam you with it. It's absolutely not fair whatsoever. So even the normal setting, you're going to get a challenge. You need to be ready for that because it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy being green, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I really enjoyed that foreground, background concept of the fighting, and I really, really love the character designs. It's very inspired more by the manga, which I've read like a couple of chapters of at one point back in the day, years ago when I started watching the show, as a matter of fact. It has that art style very much like Super Dragon Ball Z, where it's more inspired by the manga and the art of the manga than the actual show. And of course it has pretty much every voice actor except for one that came back to do the new voices for this game too, which I thought was cool. But there was one particular that sounded nothing like the original show's character, for the American dub at least, which was kind of weird. But I loved everything else about it. I think the art is beautiful, the color of everything is great. The fighting mechanics are a little weird. It's one of those games like back in the day, kind of like Resident Evil 4, that when you played it on controller for PS2, you were better off using your D-pad to steer Leon, or in this case to fight people, than you are to use the left joystick, because the left joystick will fuck you up. It's going to get you in a situation where you're not going to realize what you're doing wrong. This is very much an arcade fighter, and I think it benefits if you just use the D-pad, so that's a big recommendation for me. The ability movie things, the little cutscenes you'd get when you do the big special fight things, special abilities, whatever, when you do those big special ability moments and you get a cool cutscene to show you certain things, they were really good. They were really, really good. But I do want to bring up one more thing. Of course, this is supposed to be an adaptation of the show, or manga, or whatever, to a video game. You kind of have to know the show to follow along with it. That's not uncommon for like Dragon Ball Z games, Shonen Jump games in general. That's not a big issue to me, but it might matter to you if you've never seen the show and you don't want to be spoiled. This will kind of just lightly spoil those things. But I do love the cutscenes you have of people interacting, because it's basically like a live picture of these characters, and as they're waiting to say their line, they blink and shit. It's really bizarre. I know how to explain it that way. It sounds like it's a very weird thing. But I gotta tell you, I really, really enjoyed a lot of Naruto Ultimate Ninja. But overall, with the fighting mechanics, the cheating-ass AI, it's kind of shit, if I'm being honest with you. And even by the end of the game, when I finished everything, I unlocked no more storylines to play out of like the 10 that there are. Yeah, I think there's about 10 of them. There's 12 characters that you can unlock to play in free play and whatever. I still have 2 more left, and I don't know how to get them, and I don't really give a shit enough to keep playing it more to get those characters, because of how unfair the game can be sometimes. I love a lot of things about it. I really do. I like this kind of change up. Instead of just being a Dragon Ball Z regular Street Fighter clone, instead of being something like a clone, they try to do something else, and I kind of like that. One of my favorite things in the show is when people cheat and use substitutions. Like, for example, you might go to punch somebody, and it turns into a fucking log of wood that you're actually hitting, right? And that person will appear behind you and start attacking you. You have abilities like that in this game that are utilized in a really cool way. If you love Naruto, like I do, this is not horrible when it comes to that, but it's the concepts that were the good idea. It's the concepts that are the highlight of it. It's the execution that really kind of shits the bed. It really kind of ruins the game for me overall. There are things I wanted to love about it that I just, at the end of the day, I can't because of how this turned out. But I wanted to. If I had to rate Naruto Ultimate Ninja for PS2 on a 5-star basis, I can't give it more than like a 2 out of 5 stars, man. I can't justify it any further. It's it's such a mess. It's just such a mess, and it's not that fun. It's kind of one of the biggest disappointments I had on a video game this year because I expected more of like a Budokai 3 game like I talked about. But to be more like Super Dragon Ball Z is to be more like a failure, and that is kind of what this game is, in my personal opinion. There are many cool things about it, many good ideas, but a lot of fucking up on those good ideas. That's really all I have to say. Have you guys played Naruto Ultimate Ninja? Do you love it? Do you hate it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about it. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Tell me everything. Anyway, have you played the rest of the series? I know there's new ones, like there's just one that came out recently called like Naruto Boruto Connections or something. I haven't heard of that much. I haven't played it. But I kind of want to put those off for a long time. There's like another series this evolved into called the Ultimate Ninja Storm series that a lot of people love. It involves the Shippuden show as well. I don't know. I'm going to be very cautiously optimistic with these games. I hope 2 and 3 get better, but we'll see what happens. I don't own them yet, but eventually I'll try to get a copy, and we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's my review. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below once again. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all, and goodbye.